Sassy Sassenach salutations, everybody. This is going to be my first painting video, so let's see how this goes. It's been a while since I painted anything with a brush, so I'm looking forward to it, as long as this all goes very well. But it's my first time trying to record it, so apologies if things go out of focus, or I sweep everything off my desk in a rage because of something my friend's doing. So I got paints all over the place. My main colours are going to be, of course, black and white to shade things down. I've got my accessory colours. I got some more golden paint. This is a fluorescent blue I'm interested to try. I've never tried brushing the golden high flows, so that's going to be fun. I've got this yellow and orange from Proacryl, but those will mainly be for touching up because we've already got yellow and orange on the undercoat. And then I was torturing myself thinking about how to paint the reds and purples and what shades to do and what are the correct values. So this has a nice dark value and this has a sort of mid-tone. Whereas for these ones, this is actually a darker value, and these are slightly lighter. I think because the dragon's going to be quite dark, I'm going to go with the middle shades rather than the dark purple for the skin and the bright red. Although a part of me wants to do that. We'll see how it goes. I reckon there's going to be a fair amount of fudging around with this, so I look forward to that. I've also got my silver for the metallic car parts, dark green for the wheels, and I've got a bunch of stuff that's off camera that I can sort of swap in if I feel like it. We've also got an audience of Takeyasu, my favourite sumo wrestler, Guan Yu, my favourite deity, the only one to star in Dynasty Warriors, as far as I know. I've lost his fancy glaive, which I should know the name of, but I'm sure it'll turn up. And this scary spider bust that you can get on my mini factory. These are some spider elves that I was making, but they've taken a bit of a step back. Got a couple of the models here, actually. They're pretty fun. So as well as having some sort of spiritual guidance and support, it's also important to get some other things set up when painting. I've got my assortment of variously destroyed brushes. These ones I have attempted to clean and get to a point, but, you know, like everything else, as you'd expect, I'm not exactly super neat at keeping brushes nice. They're all not so good synthetic ones rather than the fancy sable ones, which I think makes them a little bit more likely to mess up, but it also means that if I mess them up, I'm only paying a couple quid per brush. If anyone in the comments wants to send me some very fancy brushes, I will try my best to take care of them. And an important thing for painting, I got my wet palette. This is a sort of, you know, a bespoke one. It's just a sponge with a layer of greaseproof paper, basically, and it keeps the paints wet while you're working with them. You can make one very easily at home with Tupperware filled with kitchen roll, with a bit of greaseproof paper on the top, or baking parchment, or whatever. I think actually it does matter which one you're using, and I can't remember which one. It's whichever ones the Americans consider baking paper. Yeah. But you basically soak the sponge or kitchen roll in water, and then put this sort of semi-permeable layer on top, so it stays moist for a really long time. And it'll keep the paints, especially if you cover them, wet for a very long time, which is good if you're mixing any color. And it gets over one of the benefits and downsides to acrylics, which is that they dry very quickly, which is really nice if, you know, you're actually wanting to get on with the paint scheme, but it's not so good if you're, like I say, mixing up colors and then they all dry before you've got a chance to put them all on the model. So preamble over, I want to paint, so I'm going to select the least messed up brush I can. Really, all you need is a point. All of mine are split because I'm not very good at taking care of them. The camera really doesn't want to focus on it, but basically it's in 2 points, and that's really unhelpful. I have washed them with this stuff, the Masters Brush Cleaner and Preserver, which is what I get recommended. I'm wearing gloves, but you don't need to. It just keeps your finger oils off the model, and it also obviously protects your hands from the paint, just so you don't get it on them. The paint's not actually toxic to your skin or anything, as far as I know. I'm not a paint doctor. So you've got to shake my paints. One of the things I like about these war paints, which I rate very highly actually, they're cheap and they're very, very good, is that they have a little mixer in them. So you can probably hear that click, click, click sound. And I'll put a blob of paint on my wet palette, and then I've got to dilute it, because most paints come out a bit too strong. And I'll see if I can give a quick tutorial about thinning paint. So the general thing is you want it to make an opaque line, but still be quite mobile, so I can kind of move it. If you can see the sort of mound of it, and it runs still, but it's still forming this opaque layer. And that's the consistency you want. If it's too thick, it doesn't move like that. You can't shift the bulk of the paint. If it's too thin, you can see the palette beneath it. So you want somewhere in between the two. Like this doesn't really move. And then you want to brush off the excess paint or dab it on some kitchen roll. Kitchen roll is really good to have at hand. Let's start putting paint on the model. Let's just go for it. So I took a vote amongst some friends as to what scheme to use. Basically, everybody liked the Edgelord red scheme, so that's the one I'm going to start with. Brush tip is already split, which is a bit annoying. But, you know, I'm paying for my sins as a negligent brush owner. I want to keep that trim with the nice fire fade if I can. Like I say, we've got some yellow and orange to touch things up. Got a very professional setup where I can't actually see what my camera's recording. I think I could connect it to my computer by Bluetooth, but Bluetooth just does not work. Oops, there's a bit of an errant spot. I had to remove that. My hands are quite shaky, so my brush control isn't excellent. If the brush was pointy, that would help. But if the paint's quite dilute there, you can just sort of put it in a place and it'll flow where you want it to. In theory, unfortunately, this brush is very mad at me and what I've done to it and its kind. Got these sort of ring bits on the armor. It looks like on the scheme I had them as the same color as the scaly bits, so I'll stick with that. Wet my brush again, get some more paint. It's important not to dunk the whole brush in the water as well. You don't want it getting in the, I'm going to say ferrule, but I'm almost certain it's not the ferrule, the base of the brush, where the bristles meet the brush. But anyway, like I was saying, I'm not the neatest painter, so take that as inspiration. You too can be a messy painter. What we're going to do is we'll have a neatening up phase, and we'll also use some washes, which will go into the gaps and mean any kind of messy bits will be automatically blended in, so those transitions to details will look a lot nicer. Never really worked out how to paint the lance, but I reckon, yeah, this guard bit is red. So we've actually got quite a lot of the trim. Man, one of these days I'm going to make a model that's easy to paint, but it's not his upcoming buddies, let me tell you. These are fine to paint, but, you know, sometimes you just want to slot paint on, like a zombie or a Space Marine, where it's basically just one color and then you get to have fun with washes. Keep having to whack my phone to make it autofocus again. Focus. I'm searching for other bits of red that I've missed. Now, the conventional wisdom for painting is 2 thin coats. So a lot of people, when they start out painting, they use really thick coats and just slap them on. And I'm still not so good at not doing that, to be honest, because it's much quicker, which is why I was showing you how to dilute the paint. If I do that, I like to sort of use it as a cheap blend. So a blend is when you have one layer of colors. You layer up colors on top of each other quite translucently, so they kind of come together and shade it. And I can do this cheaply, either by picking another shade of red or just using the same shade again. But since this is quite a bright shade of red, I just hit the raised surfaces with it and I ignore the little shady bits. I'm going to thin my paints down a bit more for this. And what I quite like to do is almost just sort of dot it, because it's translucent. The way watered down paints work, focus phone, thank you. Pop it again. And the way watered down paints work is that where you leave them, they are sort of thickest in the middle, so they're brightest in the middle. So if you just blop them on in a circle, unless it's like, if the consistency is right at least, it creates a kind of circular gradient coming out from the middle. This isn't really something that we're going to notice here though, because it's just a second coat of the same shade. But we'll gradually build that up as we paint the miniature. Okay, a little bit of this dark red, which we'll use for the seat. I've also got different colour that I might use if I don't like it. I've got these 2 nice holdy things. What's funny is one of them wobbles, and it's the official Citadel Games actual one that wobbles. Whereas this other one my friend got me for Christmas is very stable and nice. Don't know why that is, but, you know, it is what it is. So apologies for the wobbling. Okay, very easy. I mean, I said thin coats, but, you know, a friend of mine made me laugh by talking about the forbidden technique, 1 thick coat. So, yeah, we're sort of doing that. I watered it down a bit, but this is too thick. And it's somehow both too thick and too thin, which is exciting. But this is the seat, so no one's really going to see it. It's going to be hidden by Riley's beauty. That's also why I'm using a slightly different shade of red that's hopefully a bit of a different value. I might also darken it a bit to make it more distinct. But the rest of the dragon's going to be dark, so I don't want to make the dragon too, what do you call it? Not poppy. I think people call it not poppy. Okay, starting on Riley's skin high. Do I like this? I can't decide if I dislike this or if I like it. Let's find out, shall we? Can always change the shade. Muddy, that's the word I was looking for earlier, not poppy. But yeah, I worry that the red and the purple are a bit too similar. But we'll be doing highlights and washes and things, so it'll be fun. Or maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll all go wrong. Gonna mix some of these colours together for fun, for the hair. I really did do that bit at the start about thinning paints just so that I could then not thin my paints. Definitely going to need some tertiary colours to pop this out a bit, but I think it's fine as a start. The red and yellow still does look a bit McDonald's to me, I have to admit. Okay, I'm going to put some white down on the bits that I want to be a real shift in tone. So that's basically the eyes on the shield and armor, and the eyes on his eyes. So, but I am already like green, you need to add a green. I'm like, it's not in the color wheel, didn't tell me to. Plus, it would be nice to have a scheme without a million colors in it. There we go, not bad. I suppose I should also do these various claws. Treat quite a lot of them, but you know, it's no claws for alarm. It just adds some nice little detail. Breaks up all this. It's a very analogous scheme so far, and some people really like those where it's like, it's all similar shades close on the color wheel. I tend to like schemes that are contrasty, so I'm itching to break this up. I'm also going to paint the band on the back of this helmet. Yeah, that was a good choice. I'm a little unsure about these sort of bands. I don't think they should be red. I'll keep them fiery at the moment, and the soles of the feet as well. Exactly how to shade the dragon skin is doing me a concern. And it's basically whether I have it as a black purple or a black blue or a black green to go crazy. I think black purple will make the scheme very analogous, which again, I don't like. I can always paint over it. I'm going to try with the black blue, but it'll probably look weird until I add the blue to Riley. I've also got to remember that these wheels exist, and they're going to need to be painted too. Riley also keeps wanting to fall off this little thing. It's just not that helpful, but they are a villain, so I don't know what I expected. Fluorescent paints are the devil, and I haven't used these with brush before, so see how this goes. Very nicely, actually. I love these high-flow paints. It's a shame they're so expensive, because I'm now going to have to bankrupt myself, and I like the Riley scheme about 1,000 times more with another colour in it that isn't purely analogous, even though I know, you know, yellow and purple aren't exactly analogous to red, particularly yellow. And I'm going to attempt to visualize what color the dragon should be. I think either would work. I'm going to go with blue to start with because I just like that contrast. But I'll put it on a hand first, so I'm not destroyed if it doesn't work well. I should have wiped some of this off, but I didn't. And no one can stop me because this is a video. It's very, very thin. So we will have to actually do 2 thin coats here. Wish I hadn't got that blob of black in the eye. Might be able to get rid of it, or this will make it worse. Let's see. There we go. You can sort of, if you're fast enough, you can sort of erase paints by wetting the brush. Getting all the paint off of it, wetting the brush, and then wiping it away. It's very useful. Do not hesitate, though, because acrylics dry very quickly. You can always fix those details later, but sometimes, you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you're almost finished, and then you get a big blob of something over a really nicely detailed light color, and that will save you. So I didn't really do this on purpose, but you can see that having a really diluted layer of paint kind of creates this wash where it's all going into the details. Unfortunately, I think as I said in the airbrushing video, this nice yellow-orange fire gradient would look really cool in the crack, but can't do that with a wash because the wash will go in the crack, so you'd need to dry brush over the crack. So it's just, you know, as the name dry brush kind of suggests, it's the opposite of a wash. So when you have barely any paint on your brush and you're just quickly going over the raised surfaces, so nothing washes into the crack. It's all just on the raised surface. Let's just slop it on. I always think of the John McCain quote about slopping it on, which I will not repeat here because these are children's models. But if you're not a child, look it up. It's a great example of somebody not taking criticism that well and going from 0 to 100 very quickly. Yeah, I do quite like this actually. The slightly darker blue-black, because over the yellow undercoat it does kind of become greenish, and it does look quite dragon-like. Even though Wayne is obviously a wyvern, because they only have 2 feet. Maybe the inner wings, I will do the purple. We'll see. But yeah, these sort of translucent styles can look a little messy. But what they do is create a lot of tone and color variation. And on top of sort of washes and blends and highlights, you can basically create a lot of interesting variation on the cheap, as it were, without really needing to have steady hands or brushes that don't suffer from post-traumatic stress. Right, this layer is mostly dry, and mostly it's good enough. So let's do another coat. I'm going to thin this paint down a little bit, see how that works. Yeah, because then what you can do, like I was saying earlier, with dilute paint, they blob up where you last had your brush. So you're moving them, like I was showing you on the palette as well. Rather than putting the paint down, you're kind of pulling it to a certain area, which means you can create these areas of, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but basically there's areas where there's a lot of paint built up, which will obviously evaporate away with the water and thin down, but it will create these gradients of color. So for example, let's get a bit more water because I'm pulling a lot of paint off the palette here. And I'm not doing what I said earlier about making sure I don't have too much paint on my brush. So I would quite like to pick out, you know, the lines of the brow. So I'm going from the outside inwards towards the brow. It creates this slightly lighter along the rim. Now I'm just blobbing in some nice diluted paint into the areas I want. Then this is not so diluted, so I'm just going over the raised areas with a bit of a thinner coat, double checking I haven't got any on the eyes that I need to correct. The issue with dilute paint is it runs. So for example, here I've got a slightly wet line around that eye. If I'm not careful, it will just spill down it. So I'm keeping an eye on it. I've had to turn down the lights for the sake of the camera, and it means I can't see the model unless I angle it a certain way, because as a Bigfoot, my eyes are, you know, the Bigfoot dimension is a lot brighter than the human one, so I'm used to more light. I keep using that word as well, you know, it's no matter how hard you try to hide from it, it is embarrassing how much Sasquatches are obsessed with the size of our feet. I know the average is only like 13 inches from heel to toe anyway, but it's just too much Bigfoot media that warps your perception of that kind of thing. Problem is, obviously, in Sasquatch TV, there's laws against having exposed feet on the same sets as certain people, like Sasquatch children, so they often use prosthetics, but that just leads to further warping of Sasquatch perceptions for realistic feet size. I was reading some really grim article you definitely shouldn't read while you're eating, or if you're squeamish, about Sasquatch men who get these plantar implants to make their feet longer. And what was crazy is that a lot of them already had, you know, like longer than average feet, and it wasn't because their spouse was like complaining or anything. And these implants kept going wrong, and a lot of them, you know, their toes fell off. So I know children might be watching, but I just wanted to warn them, you know, don't let TV control your body image. It's not real. You've got to live in your body for your whole life. You've got to learn to accept what you can't change and change what you can. And try to not fall victim to unrealistic standards of foot length and toe circumference. It's looking pretty good. Let's let that dry. Also, I just took it off of the thing without thinking. I don't usually use these. You might be able to tell. But it is worth not just touching it all the time, especially once you start getting to the end of the model and you're just like putting huge blobs of dark color over lovely finished highlights and things like that. But that probably will happen. Okay, so my thinking was to use similar color for some of Riley's gear to show that some of it is gifted from Wayne. I think it's not just shed skin. I think, when a dragon chair or a wheel within takes a rider, they start to produce riding accoutrements and gear, and kind of the flashier that gear is, the sign of the bond the rider has. This is quite flashy, particularly for a wheel within, which are generally considered to be untamable. So this is a really special relationship. I'm going to need to differentiate that though, because it blends in pretty strongly with the skin. I think what I'm going to be doing is bumping up the skin brightness and lightness with a couple extra layers and bringing down the red a little bit with a sort of darker wash. That's my thinking. We'll see if I actually do that. Phone, if you could focus on, thank you. Give it a bop. I can only apologize for my phone. Yeah, so these armor panels, that you can see, I think this is sort of woven leather. And then I'm going to put some probably metallic color for the studs ultimately. But at the moment, it's not very different looking from the skin. So I'm going to need, like I say, to pop that out a bit. Partly it's just because it's too dilute, because I watered down that top layer for the dragon. This is a little bit too dilute to use like this, but it should sort itself out eventually. It just needs a couple layers. And for now, I'm going to do the soles of the feet. Actually, no, I'm not going to do the soles of the feet there, because they're going to be on the top of the head. I don't want them to be the same color. I'm also going to paint this gem up here blue. No camera, not the table. Thank you. This gem will be blue. No camera. This is tricky, but we're going to swap to the thing that I'm holding up right in front of you. Thank you. Just going to go over and do the claws and the teeth white. Then I'll probably move on to metal. And actually, this scheme is not too bad. This is quite a quick scheme. It's been an hour, but that also included a lot of chatting and showing off of various things. So yeah, this is quite a quick scheme. Famous last word. That, I suppose, is the bonus of a scheme that doesn't have a billion different colors. Do you need to remember that the wheels exist and I failed to do that? Why didn't you remind me? Oh yeah, I've also got this banana peel. That needs to pop out. I need to figure out what color the bag is. Green or blue? Because our blue-black transparent skin has added green as a backdoor color. So I get my way. And we'll also try to highlight the letters here. And I'll also put a second coat on this chair. Not 100% sure what kind of purple to do. I think I'll just do regular purple to start with. Sort of thinking maybe that's why Riley is purple, is because they're sort of melding, thus the reptile eye as well. And I need to do the claws on his wings as well. If you notice something like this, so I've got this little sliver of orange here, and this isn't the right color for it, but we'll just put over it. Generally speaking, it's better to have the wrong, oh man, I'm going to start getting red paint all over this because I'm holding it again. It's better to have the wrong color on something than no color. Not the entirely wrong color, obviously, but if you've got two surfaces close together, it's fine to just fill in the gaps with the other color rather than the right one. It just looks much nicer and can be fixed much easier. I actually like this black and purple. Got this nice hot pink color that I like. I'm going to mix in some red because I'm trying to more or less follow the scheme that we made in the video, which has a redder color for the tongue. And I guess actually, yeah, I'll just splodge the mouth with it as well, because I can go over the teeth. Or just splodge, maybe here as well. Give Riley the pink tongue as well. Which reminds me actually to go over the within skin bits again, so that they're actually darker than the purple. Probably should use this while I've got it for the wheels as well. The wet palette should keep it wet, but won't keep it wet forever. So I've got to use my nice blue and black mix while I can. And attempt by this eyebrow. Like I say, my hands are not too steady and these brushes are not too pointy, so I've got to find the point. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'll be repainting that eyebrow many times, but it's good to get started early. It does make a difference. As well as my hands not being steady, they also like to sketch. So you're going to add a little bit of dark color in to split this. And hands as well, I haven't really thought about that. Let's give them bare hands. Put like purple bare hands instead of brown bare hand. Yeah, I think that works a little better. With the black, newly black, I added a little bit more purple as well, because it does make it brighter. Wheels, wheels, wheels. And then I'll do the metallics. And then we'll be close to finished, actually. I think we'll just be doing little details. Not finished with the whole scheme, but finished with the layers, which is the most boring bit. Everything else is fun, so it doesn't really count as work. And didn't think at all about how to hold these wheels since I've given up on this. Let's see if we can clamp them. Sure, that gem's going to be blue. Haven't really thought through how these get painted, so we'll probably want some red. Yellow, maybe? I reckon that works. Red for the inner wheel, yellow for the little flamey detail, blue for the gem, maybe a little bit of a silver trim around the gem. The other wheels, if I remember right, have coins on them, so we need to decide what metallic color we're using for that. Looks like we have a central spike, which is probably going to be silver. So we're introducing another metallic, which can either be gold or copper, because we've got both red and yellow in the scheme already, and orange, so that'll be fine. And that's probably needed as well, because there's multiple metal bits on the seat, so we don't want it to all just be one big silver blob. Do you sort of think the dragon's skin is going to need a dry brush though? I'm almost certainly going to wash these with oils, because it's fun, but that makes things darker, and you want to have a lighter than you want. Basically, you want the base colors to be lighter than the end colors in that case, which is why I'm also going to brighten up the purple skin. The armor, is all very bright already, so that doesn't matter too much. But it might be worth dry brushing the scales with a blue or a green, or both. slopping some red into these wheels. Lovely. Red is a surprisingly annoying paint to work with for some reason. There's a lot of paints, I mean, it's to do with the pigments in them. There's a lot of paints that do not dry very brightly at all. And so this might look bright now, but it depends whether it actually is once it's dry. This is beautiful. There's so few paints on my palette. It's wonderful. Now I forgot to do the claws on the wings. I'll do that after I do the metallics here. So I'm just going to do the metallic. I've got this metallic speed paint, so you don't need to thin it or anything. It just goes right on because they're very dilute. They're designed to go into the cracks. It's quite a dark silver there. That's not really what I want. So maybe change of plan. Time to rummage in my paint box loudly. So I have two quite bright silvers. I really like Vallejo's metallics, and Dark Star are my favorite metallics, except they are a bit annoying to use because they don't go on in one coat at all. But I'll probably do highlights with them. They're very, very bright and colourful as well. I like them. Yeah, look at how nice and shiny. The Vallejo ones are very shiny as well. And they go on really nicely in thin coats. Great coverage, which is the downside of the Dark Star ones. Lovely colours, but bad coverage. It just means doing two coats with them, but I haven't got time for that. As you can see, I'm a very busy person, which is why I'm painting little toys. Yeah, I feel like these bits with the sort of grills should at least be a different metallic colour. And once I do the oil wash, I'll have the ends of the exhausts kind of burnt. I can maybe even add some brownie metal to them before I do that to create a cool, like, singed look. It kind of depends what's going on with the surrounding colours. But I like this silver enough, though. I sort of just want to have it all be lovely, bright silver. But we'll see how it goes. Let's do the metallics on Riley. Think about Riley's shoes. Thinking about it, but it's not helping. I guess the little studs can be silver. A lot of painting these fine details is just finding the right angle to approach them at. I'm just going to do the shoes red for now, or at least the non-filigree bits, whatever you call the decoration. Just got kind of this exposed ankle, but then it's not exposed on the other foot. Well, it kind of is, yeah. I'm going to leave the ankle exposed. Let's finally remember to do the claws on the wings. Gloop, gloop, gloop. Very straightforward. And really, if you're doing teeth and claws, all you really need to do is this, and then a nice brown or sepia wash. It's like one of the first sort of schemes a lot of people learn is, how do I paint a skeleton? White and then a brown wash, and it'll look great. Because I'm not sure I do want to actually add sort of bronze and gold in. I might, but I might leave that for the final bits. Although, then what are the coins? If not, dun dun. Or have I put one wheel in the thing and then completely forgot that that was a thing? So I have a few extra metals to try. This is another Vallejo metal. It's really nice. It's the first Vallejo metal I really liked, but it's a bit of a dull colour. It's not going to stand out against the red. This is a bit brighter version of that, basically. That will stand out a bit. I think I will use this, because the other place I'm thinking about I want to use it is on Riley's lamp there, this little band. And if it's a bright yellow, it's not going to stand out against the already bright yellow of this. Unless I painted that gold and this, added two metallic colours. No, for now, let's just do what we know we want to do. It's always the best place to start. There's also Riley's helmet piece, which I might also do. I may also replace this with a Dark Star metallic, because there's a really nice sort of red Dark Star metallic. Not sure if I like. Double check it on the helmet as well. If not, I might use this red Vallejo one, or like I say, the Dark Star one, which is pretty similar to that other one, but it's much brighter. I might do the helmet wings as well. Just go mad with it. I want them to stand out, and at the moment they're kind of lost in amongst all the other fiery stuff. Could also be why I do the bands. But yeah, sure. I think for these boots, that's fine. Oh, but there's wings on the boots. Oh, I should have done them that colour. But nobody say anything. That's cool. I've got time to erase it. Don't want to go too hard at the erasing. Or you can wipe off the paint underneath. If you're actually being careful, you could like varnish between every layer before you were about to experiment. And now I can do the wings on the boots the same colour. Even though I'm still not 100% sold on this gold. I think it looks okay. It does stand out against the rest of the colours, which is good. You could just do it being a lot brighter. Even though I'm not sure about it, I'm still just going to start applying it everywhere. Worst case scenario, I'll paint over it, and whatever's remaining of it will just create visual interest. That's going to be my excuse going forward for every kind of mess up, is it's creating visual interest. But I do like that whole sort of painterly, lots of colours. Like coming around to the idea that I do not like this gold, and I'm still applying it everywhere. I'm committed at this point. I should be committed for using such an awful gold. But it has made me notice that these wheel caps they're not wheel caps, these wheel things, axles. I don't know if they're an axle, but that's what I've been calling them. No, it's an axle thing that comes through it. What the heck is this thing? I don't know. The wheel tube needs painting. Oh, that's your problem, mate. Your wheel tube needs painting. That's going to be £10,000. May as well just get a whole new one. I've got a mate who can sell you a bunch of these dragon chairs out the back of his garden, give you his number. It's not bad though. I do think that the gold just needs like something else to pop out a little bit. Actually, I've got a few good options here. So I've got two Vallejos, one of which is sort of yellowier than the other one, this one. And I've got this gold. They're basically all very similar, aren't they? Got this Dark Star one. Couldn't find the nice copper Dark Star that I end up using on everything. I think I might have run out of it. Let's try the polished gold. Oh, that is not shaken up enough. That's the problem with them not being mixes in them. That's better. So one of them I'm going to use the Vallejo copper on to see if we really have to give up on the copper idea. Makes a very little difference. So I have the more yellow gold up the top here and the less yellow gold on the side and the copper on here. I actually think maybe a combo of the copper and the yellow gold, which is funny because that was not what I was thinking. I was thinking the other one would be the one I'd like, but yeah, let's go with that because the copper stands out quite nicely and the yellow gold is just nice and bright. And I think once I've washed it, it'll be easy to differentiate the yellow gold from the yellow, which is what I was worried about. It's a lot of yellow. I still need to do the soles of Riley's feet, but like I said in the paint scheme video, I often end up adding extra colors, especially metallics. So I've now gone from 1 to 3 metallic colors. That's all good. I like metallics. There's a technique called non-metallic metal, which is for real pros, where you basically make things look metallic by just being very good at blending and painting highlights and such. But I like the shininess, like a magpie. So I've always liked true metallic paints. I think non-metallic metal's a cool technique to learn, but for me it's like, well, but then it wouldn't be shiny. And that gives it some visual interest. It gives it a, difference in the finish. So I feel like if you're doing non-metallic metal, it's nice and you can control the shine, but you're missing out on an element, which is, this color, is it matte? Is it glossy? Is it metallic? Is it non-metallic? All extra dimension there. And particularly looks nice once you do sort of oil washes and stuff and the shine comes through. Go do a pass on the teeth, pass on the seat. There's some whole element that I keep forgetting about. Or I've forgotten about it again. The bag and the bandana. That's it. Oh, and the yellow touches. And then I'm good to go. I'm going to do the bag, red and blue, because it's a chance to introduce both those colours to the dragon, which is lacking a bit. The wheels will be red, but it could do with something on the actual body itself. If you can consider a bag part of the body, which I do. Also going to paint the dragons, the wyvern, even. Apologies, Wayne. I'm going to paint Wayne's belly. And that's also going to be the same colour as the back of the seat. The seat is also goring out. And for Lottie, get these teeth done, clean up these teeth as well, because mouth's looking a little bit gory, which is not the intent, it's just the colour of the gum. This red looks so nice for the 5 seconds it's wet, and then before it just dries into being dull. The red is like that. Probably needed to have it be, these wheels be white, but then the black bits would be red. Don't know whether this is a mistake or not. Quite like it. I want it to not be everywhere though, because I like the other colour showing through as well. If this was any other fluorescent colour, I wouldn't be worried because it wouldn't show up, but this is actually quite a good fluorescent paint with these golden ones, so I can't rely on it drying into nothing and being a bit too wet there. It's going to get runny and that's dangerous, but I quite like it. Ties in the purple and red quite nicely, better than the weird yellowy greeny black, but I'm still keeping some of that for visual interest. Oh no, smudged decor. So this is sort of like a clumsy man's blending where I'm just picking little areas, putting splodges and dashes of diluted paint that will hopefully evaporate into kind of translucent gradients. Part of me wants to also splodge it with green, but I will resist. There's such a thing as too much. And I think slightly change the value of Riley's skin color, make it a little bit brighter so that it pops out when we do our lovely unifying oil wash that I cannot resist. I also need to figure out the soles of the shoes. Oh, no, I can't do them with the color as the dragon hide. We've already established this, and I can't really do it as the same color. I can't do it purple because that's the skin color. I can't do it with the seat because that's going to be too close. I can't do it with the dragon color because that's going to be close. Metallics would make no sense whatsoever. But that like darker blue, yeah, let's do that. Where did that go? Oh, was that not the fluorescent blue at all I was mixing it? It was regular Pro blue. Dun dun dun. Indeed it was. Oh well, mistakes to miracles. It's too close to the skin. Of this, the soles of the shoes that are tormenting me at this point. Possibly the least important things in the world. Oh no, adding white to that turned it back to the skin. It's quite a nice skin colour. Hoping this is not going to overpower everything about the skin. No, I think that looked quite nice. Giving it a bit more volume and more of an interesting look. Although a lot of that will come with the unifying wash as well. Unifying wash is basically like the sort of like, we'll fix it in post version for real life painting. It'll bring all the colours together, pop out all the details and obscure any big mistakes. Looks nice, so I can go a little bit lighter with it even. Yellow is also one of the most annoying colours, so we'll see how this works out. But since this can also be orange, I can relax a little bit. I don't think you can actually see these bits on the back, but I'm still doing them. Also should think about what kind of unifying wash it's going to be. Dark brown is the classic one. Basically goes with everything, but it can be a little bit more interesting to do something like a purple or a dark green or a dark blue, depending on your colours. Also going to paint these daffodils because they shouldn't be orange. And I'll mix together a sort of brighter yellow and white for them. So I've tried to make the daffodils a little brighter and the rest of the yellow. Do some fine skin highlights. It was basically the purple mixed with the daffodil white yellow. And let's try and do that dang eyebrow again. When you give me strength. Yeah, more or less. I was going to say I think we're done, but I forgot to do the fluorescence on the dragon flame. So I'm going to go check what fluorescence I have. First, I'm going to for the first time put this together and see if the scheme actually looks okay together. So I took a little break to eat. And I also applied some high flow orange fluorescent to the dragon's eyes and flames because I didn't particularly like the way it kind of blended into the decoration and filigree on Riley. I think it stands out a little bit more. But on our scheme that we did up, the fire was red, and I was thinking, oh, I'll use a red fluorescent, but I don't have one. I don't know if one exists. I am going to put some red over it though, and then we're basically done. We'll see how that works. This high flow fluorescent has much better coverage than I'm used to. I'm used to using them as kind of like but they actually chop their color really nicely, which I'm not used to, so it's frightening. It's good. It's kind of the weakness of fluorescents, is that they don't have good coverage, so it's nice to have one that does, but I'm also not used to it. So I'm wondering, do I use the orange red? I've already got orange thing. I'm going to use this bold pyrite red. It's a slightly different red. Actually, I've got some down on the palette already, and I'm going to really dilute it, because I want this to be kind of a glaze. If I don't like it, I'll just go over it with the orange, because I'm quite confident about it now. It's too watery. You can see how it sort of beads. It's not what we want. It's good to have diluted paints, but if they are beading like that, it's because it's too much. You want them to still, tint and create a layer and stay where you put them. And this is too thick. It's thick and beading, so I wonder if it's something to do with the surface of the fluorescent. Well, that does mean I can kind of use a bit of water. That's too much to blend the flame back off, kind of create the effect I'm going for. Well, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just put this red layer over it, and then I'm going to go over it with the fluorescent. Yeah, that's a lot closer to the color scheme we came up with at the beginning. Now let's see, what's a really smart thing to do is to, stick models on top of other models when there's wet paint on one of them, but I think with the orange fluorescent over that, it's going to pop a lot more. It doesn't get quite as lost. I'm just going to go over the teeth for the millionth time as my brush gets more and more upset with me. Big cute eye, looking a bit weird, but oh well, use a goofy ribbon. It's allowed to look weird. But yeah, I'll put one last bit of orange on this, and that'll be it for this layer. So I'll probably show that off, and then I'll do an oil wash. Sweet. Thanks for bearing with me. This video took quite a while to edit. Turns out real-life painting videos are a lot harder to edit than just videos on your computer. Who knew? The Reuploaded model is actually more or less finished now, and I've filmed the whole process, so now I just need to do a lot of editing to get all these videos out. As you've probably already seen from the channel, I've started making Riley some friends, and they're mostly finished now. I'm just in the final stage of figuring out where things have gone wrong, what wheels don't turn properly, that kind of thing. But as always, thank you so much for watching the videos. Like and subscribe, hit that bell. If you could donate by buying a model, that'd be absolutely great. Thanks everyone.